Good evening and welcome. This is News First Primetime News on TV1. For the News First team, the voice of the people, I am Zama Ratnayaka. Today is the 17th of June 2021. Here are your headlines for tonight.
Indian COVID-19 detected from the community. Sri Lanka is a sovereign nation. Opposition leader insists need for a non-aligned policy. JP moves court against decision to import vehicles for MPs. Muruthettuwe Thera calls for new leadership. Alle Gunawansa Thera seeks Prime Minister's intervention.
එතුමා බලයට ගේන්න දිවාරය නොතකා වැඩ කරපු පිරිස එතුමා ළඟ නැති බව දැන් අපිට පේනවා. අපිත් එහෙම නැහැ කියන එක අපටත් දැනෙලා අපිත් තේරුම් ගන්න තියෙනවා.
On to your top story for tonight. The Delta COVID-19 variant, also known as the Indian variant, has been detected among the community in Sri Lanka. This was confirmed by the Department of Immunology and Molecular Medicine at the University of Sri Jayawardenepura.
2 individuals had been first detected with the Indian Delta COVID-19 variant in the country. Officials said the virus had not entered the community, as the infected individuals had been moved to a quarantine center directly from the airport. But recent tests have shown that 5 individuals had contracted the new COVID-19 variant along Aramya Road in Dematagoda.
We tested 13 samples. 9 samples were obtained from Dematagoda. Today it was confirmed that 5 samples contained the B1617 Delta variant of the virus. The people infected with this variant have displayed symptoms different to the other variants. Those infected with the Delta variant have a higher tendency to develop headaches, sore throats and colds. The tests have shown that the infection is likely to aggravate faster.
Dr. Chandima Jeewandara says that the Indian Delta variant spreads faster than the UK's Alpha COVID-19 variant.
This spreads 50% faster than the Alpha variant. The main problem is that one vaccine dose does not prove to be effective against this. This variant is more powerful than all other variants. We have placed the Aramya Road under isolation immediately after detecting the new strain of the virus.
Two fishing boats had washed ashore in Sinnapadua area in Udaipur. Our correspondent reported that boats measure 30 feet in length and 4 feet in breadth. Fishermen say that the boats are not used in Sri Lanka.
The hulls of these boats contain cavities. We can install 4 engines on these boats. The marks indicate that the engines had been removed recently. Therefore, we are unable to confirm whether the boat had been abandoned while transporting people from India or whether it had directly washed ashore.
The Navy inspected the boats after being informed about the matter by fishermen. The Udaipur police are conducting further investigations into the incident. 13 Sri Lankan fishermen on board 2 multi-day fishing trawlers reached the shores of the Kovita, claiming they had been attacked by the Indian Navy while fishing in international waters. The group of fishermen had left Sri Lankan shores on the 7th of May. These fishermen say that Indian Navy officers had inspected the vessel for narcotics on the 4th of June.
A boat from the Indian Navy reached our vessel. Of the 9 officers, 5 of them began attacking and inspecting our fishing gear. They assaulted us and asked for drugs and satellite phones. They beat us using white steel tubes.
Drugsui satellite phone yapen illuwe. Gahuwe me sudiyakada pipe ekin thama gahawe.
Mulimma ape number එක අල්ලගත්තා.
They caught one vessel first. When we heard that they were being attacked, we went to the location. A chopper with the Indian emblem then reached us. They asked us whether we know Tamil. I said I know the language. They pushed the skipper of the boat into the water. They didn't do anything to pull him out of the water.
The injured fishermen had been hospitalized for further treatment.
Venerable L.A. Gunawansathera and Venerable Muruttettuwe Anandathera convened separate media briefings today. These were the views expressed by them on the current political climate.
We
require a leader who understands the anguish of the people, not ones who live lavishly and ask the people to tighten their belts. We have experienced such leaders in the past. It is difficult to find a leader with the qualities we require, but it is not impossible. At times, we search for such a leader and help them ascend to power, and they forget the people who helped them. They are consumed by greed for power. But the people cannot be fooled this time. The people will not accept everything the leader says. They are more intelligent. We need to appoint a leader who loves this nation and its people. He should not be inclined to sell off the country's assets. We possess the crown and we decided who we crown it with. We need to assess the eligibility of that person before we crown him. We have entered into talks to decide who is ideal for the progress of this nation. We cannot immediately say who is suitable and who is not, but we must decide at least through a questionnaire who is the best for this nation.
තේරුම් අරන් තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා කරුණා කළා මේ රටක් ඉතුරු වේද අපිට මෙහෙම කරොත් අපේ මිනිස්සු ටික දුක් විඳින හින්දා රජයෙන් කරුණාවෙන් ඉල්ල හිටිනා හොඳට ඇහ ගහලා බලන්න මේ රට දෙස කියලා.
අද නායකයෙක් මතුවෙන්නට ජනතාවගේ දුක දන්න තමන් බඩගිරෙන්න කාලා ජනතාවට ප්‍රතිසාර කරපන්.
A new leader needs to work on behalf of the people, a leader who knows the people's sorrows. There is no point in appointing people who use the public to further their own greed. We need to set ourselves a time limit and start looking for good leaders. This is a difficult task, but we will strive to achieve it. Even if we do appoint such a leader, some cannot handle power when power falls into their hands. Power makes people forget their roots. I believe there is no possibility of deceiving the public this time. Now the people will not accept someone just because they promise to be good leaders. The people are intelligent now. We must rally to find a good leader who loves our nation and who loves our people, and who will not sell off the island's assets. The crown is ours. We need to choose carefully as to who wears it. A new era has arisen, and good leadership can take our nation forward.
මේ රටේ ඉදිරි ගමනට කවුද හොඳ කියන එක අපි දැන් බොහොම සාකච්ඡා මාර්ගයෙන් අපි දැන් ගමන් කරන විදිහට තමයි ඇවිල්ලා තිබෙන්නේ. මෙතෙන්දී පොඩේකෙල්ලේ කියන්නේ ආරය හොඳයි, මෙයා හොඳයි කියලා අපි ප්‍රශ්නපත් ප්‍රකාර ගිය ගමන් නැහැ. අපි ඉදිරිපත් කරලා යන විදිහේ වෙන තෝරගන්න අපි කල්පනා කරන්නේ.
Leader of the opposition Sajith Premadasa participated in the Straight Talk program hosted by Vion News India and expressed the following views.
In 2020, Sri Lanka's economy contracted, 3.6%, and a report from the World Bank claims that Sri Lanka's publicly guaranteed debt has now increased to more than 109% of the GDP. Recently, Bangladesh extended a $200 million loan to Sri Lanka. Is your country headed towards bankruptcy?
I would not like to think so, but when one examines the current trends and the economic trajectory, life does not look too rosy. It looks pretty alarming. I think we need to have more pragmatic, practical approach to economic management, and I hope the relevant authorities have a change of course and try to think anew in a unique manner when it comes to economic management.
And one of the fallouts of the economic crisis is China's increasing influence. Last month, the Sri Lankan government decided to go ahead with a controversial $1.4 billion Colombo Port City project that will be funded by the Chinese. Is Sri Lanka sinking further into China's grip and the debt trap?
Well, Sri Lanka is a proud nation state. We, as a people, we are proud of our culture. We are proud of our multiculturalism. We are proud of our heritage. We are proud of our history. And as Sri Lankans, we would never ever be keen on being subjugated to any other state or non-state actor. Basically speaking, Sri Lankans don't like international interference, whether it's from a particular political bloc or from an individual nation state. We sacredly protect our country's political independence. territorial integrity, sovereignty, and unitary character. And we as a country, we want to stand up our own feet. We have the self-discipline, we have the capability, and we have the strength as a people to stand up on our own feet. There is absolutely no necessity for any administration to go around the world with a begging bowl, whereas Sri Lankans themselves are able to look after their own business. And one thing I want to make clear, the psyche and the thinking of Sri Lankan people is that we don't want foreign interference from wherever it may.
So you're saying that there is foreign interference? You've not answered my question. Is Sri Lanka sinking further into China's grip?
Well, Sri Lanka has always strived to have very direct, productive, progressive, constructive relations with all countries. We are a non-aligned country. We are a country with no alignments. So just as much as we value our relationship with India, we also value our relationship with China and the rest of the world. And we would like to have always a productive relationship, which is of mutual benefit. And more, what we see is Sri Lanka's internal national agenda being decided by external factors. And as Sri Lankans, we don't like it.
Residents of the Egoda Uyana Fisheries Housing Complex in Moratua staged a demonstration today citing several hardships that they have to undergo due to the ongoing travel restrictions.
The police intervened and brought the situation under control.
Farmers from a number of areas in the country took to the streets today amid travel restrictions, urging authorities to provide them sufficient stocks of fertilizer. Farmers had travelled to the Agrarian Services Centre in Sevagama, Polonnaruwa today with the intention of obtaining fertilizer. However, a demonstration ensued at the premises as the authorities failed to issue fertilizer. In excess of 300 farmers attached to the Sevagama, Vavethanna and Monorathanna agrarian societies in Polonnaruwa have been impacted due to the lack of fertilizer.
When this government came into power, they assured local agriculture would be uplifted and the local economy would be strengthened. By today, the people have been forced onto the streets to oppose the government's actions. We are destitute. We have no money left. If we don't apply fertilizer, we cannot cultivate our fields.
Although the group engaged in the protest for over an hour opposite the Sevagama Agrarian Services Centre, they returned to their homes empty-handed. Farmers engaged in paddy farming and other cultivations in Kuttiyavila, Padalangala, engaged in a protest at the 16th Canal area in Padalangala, Ambilipitiya today, demanding sufficient stocks of fertilizer.
We want to tell the leaders of this government that we do not oppose the move to use organic fertilizer. This is a program without a plan. It must be implemented over time.
Farmers in Kaudulla Madirigiriya in Polonnaruwa engaged in a silent protest today opposite the premises of the Madirigiriya Agrarian Services Centre. We would like to inform Mahindananda Alutgamage to visit Polonnaruwa without his langi hereafter. Free fertilizer has not been distributed among the farmers either. Regardless of what is done to the fertilizer we purchase, fertilizer provided through the subsidy scheme should be distributed. Mahindananda is lying to everyone while wearing his suit and tie. Farmers in Uwaparnagama lament a solution has not been provided for the shortage of fertilizer for several months.
Four Pradesh Sabha members of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna protested against the recent fuel price hike as monthly sittings began at the local authority. Our correspondent reported that Panadura Pradesh Sabha chairman Hemantha Fernando had instructed the media to leave the chamber during the protest. The members of the Janata Vimukti Peramuna had then staged the protest outside the chamber. Opposition members of the Devinuwara Pradesh Sabha also staged a protest together with fishermen against the decision to hike fuel prices. Opposition members of the Ruwanwella Pradesh Sabha arrived on bicycles for the monthly sittings of the local authority. They staged a silent protest afterwards. A group of members belonging to the Samagi Jana Balawegaya staged a protest in Ginigathena, opposing the fuel price hike. Waligama Pradesh Sabha members also held a protest before monthly sittings began at the local authority. Another protest took place, citing that the decision to increase fuel prices has burdened the public. The protest had been organized by a team of activists from the Samagi Jana Balawegaya in Panduwasnuwara. Some members of the Samagi Jana Balawegaya in the Wennapuwa Pradesh Sabha had staged a protest against the fuel price hike as well. Farmers in Kudawella also staged a protest in this regard today. Consider public issues as a rubber ball that is firmly immersed in water. The government is using travel restrictions just like a force is used to suppress the upthrust created by this rubber ball. Keep in mind that when these restrictions are lifted, it would aggravate public outcry. This would be similar to the rubber ball popping out of the water.
A crisis has erupted within the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna after its General Secretary demanded the resignation of Energy Minister Udaya Gammanpila over the fuel price hike. Against such a backdrop, the opposition Samagi Jana Balawegaya party is planning to moot a no-confidence motion against the Minister of Energy.
Should the opposition believe the president, who serves as the executive and the leader of the state, or the remarks made by Sagara Karyawasam, who does not hold any position in the government? Fuel prices have not been increased without the approval of the cabinet at any point of time. Some government backbench parliamentarians are saying that increasing fuel prices is unfair. The Sri Lanka Podujana Peramana's General Secretary Sagara Karyawasam staged a theatric and demanded the resignation of Udaya Gammanpila. Therefore, we have mooted a no-confidence motion. If they are on the side of the public, it is high time that they make the right decision. We wish to ask whether they would vote for the no-confidence motion against Udaya Gammanpila or call off the decision to increase the prices of fuel. We wish to tell backbench parliamentarians that their fake patriotism is to be exposed now. Therefore, we wish to ask them to make the right decision. The people who immediately issued media statements after Gammanpila spoke about the fuel price hike now say that we would not be in this situation if Basil was in power. Who is Basil? Is he a cabinet minister? Is he superior to the ruling president? This decision was made by the president, the prime minister, Namal Rajapaksa and a subcommittee with cabinet ministers. Nimal Lansa and Jagat Pushpakumara say that if Basil was in power, these price increases would not have occurred. Does Basil have special powers? The people then have an issue. Then there is no point in having a president or prime minister. Some random US citizen will be the one to take decisions regarding fuel prices. Basil Rajapaksa is using his pawns to stage this act and make the public forget about the real issues at hand.
මෙතන නාට්‍යයක් පෙන්නලා ජවනිකාවක් පෙන්නලා මේක සම්පූර්ණයෙන් යටපත් කරනවා.
A petition was filed with the Supreme Court over moves to import vehicles for parliamentarians. The petition seeks to sell the vehicles at an open auction and cover up the expenses and losses caused due to the imports. It has been filed by the Ceylon Teachers Services Union General Secretary Mahinda Jayasinghe. Cabinet Ministers, the Finance Secretary, the Bank of Ceylon, the Import and Export Controller and the Attorney General have been named as respondents. The petition cited that a cabinet paper submitted on the 18th of May had proposed to import vehicles without any duty or tariffs. The petitioner argued that parliamentarians are being allowed to use the vehicles that are being imported under unfair tax concessions. The petition also states that it is unnecessary to grant such tax concessions at a time when other imports have been restricted. Accordingly, the petitioner has argued that the importation of vehicles in such a manner violates the fundamental rights guaranteed by the Constitution.
Through the petition, we are questioning whether the government has the strength to make these decisions during this period. There is a problem with this on the legal front as well. The cabinet made its decision on the 18th. This was followed by the cancellation on the 24th of May. But the letters of credit have been opened on the 22nd of April. How can they open letters of credit before receiving cabinet approval? This is the gazette issued on the 16th of July 2020. If you read this, you can see the list of items from which importation has been banned. The importation of vehicles, including Prados, have been banned. The cabinet is attempting to import these vehicles without making any amendments to the gazette. That means this is illegal. We believe that the Supreme Court will examine this petition.
මේක නීති විරෝධී තත්ත්වයක් තියෙනවා. අපිට විශ්වාසයක් තියෙනවා ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණය මේකේ මතය විමසයි කියලා නීතිපතිවරයාගෙන්. තැන් තැන්වල මාධ්‍යවලට
Instead of telling the media on various occasions that they have cancelled this decision, they can now inform the Supreme Court through the Attorney General that they have cancelled such moves.
ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයට දැනුම් දෙන්න ඔව් අපි මේක අහෝසි කරා මේක අවලංගු කරා කියන පණිවිඩය දෙන්න.
Still in local news, a tense situation arose at the Mihindu Senpura housing complex in Dematagada today. The row had erupted due to issues regarding the distribution of relief packages.
Residents of the housing complex alleged that the secretary of the committee at Mihindu Senpura housing complex had mishandled the distribution of relief packages. We received relief packs. This was given to us by the Charity Commissioner of the Municipal Council. He says that he will give it to selected people. Some houses have received 4 packs. We are requesting for this to be divided in a fair manner. A tense situation arose when residents discussed the matter with the secretary of the housing complex.
Police officers conducted a sudden inspection at the residence of parliamentarian Harin Fernando in Wattala today.
Police officers had carried out the inspection at MP Harin Fernando's residence, citing that it was based on a tip-off over people who had been taken to a political meeting on buses. MP Fernando, who was present at his residence during the inspection, discussed the matter with the officers. Upon inquiry made by Newsfirst, the parliamentarian said the police had left his residence after the search.
Religious leaders expressed the following views regarding the current situation of the country.
හිට්ලර්ගේ චරිතය තමයි දැන් මේ අනුගමනය කරමින් ඉන්නේ.
We have a leader who is trying to follow Hitler's example by not listening to the opinions of anyone. I believe the people will not retaliate if the right thing is done. If the government gives priority to public welfare, why would the public attack the government? If the president says he does not care about public displeasure, he is then admitted to creating policies that go against the well-being of the people. We would like to call all our religious leaders to help steer the nation away from the path it is treading. Appearing before the media saying that you have been deceived is insufficient.
කීම අහලා තමයි මේ 69 ලක්ෂයක් ඡන්දය දුන්නේ. ඒ නිසා දැන් ඒ අයට අපි රැවටුණයි කියලා කියන්න පුළුවන් කමක් නැහැ.
මිනිස්සු හැම මොහොතකදීම හූල්ල මොනවද සාප කරනවා.
The people are cursing this government, and that will befall those in power. Those in power must question themselves before they go to sleep each night on whether they have done good deeds in line with their conscience or whether they have propagated lies and inflicted harm upon the country's people.
පටු දේවල් මං ඉස්ස කරගත්තද ඒවා හොඳට කල්පනා කරලා බලන්න. හක්කේ බුදුරැස් බොක්කේ දඩමස්.
මම දන්නේ ලංකීය මේ තිබෙන්නා වූ තත්වය එක වචනයකින් යාර්ථකථනයක් කළොත්
The situation of the country can be summed up in one word, that is a crisis. Our country has become the very definition of the word. We have already succumbed to the pandemic. Issues have arisen continuously from the time of obtaining the vaccine to administering it. Efforts had not been made to bring down the vaccine at the appropriate time. Now we have no solution. This is the health crisis. We also have an economic crisis. Our reserves have depleted. However, they kept insisting that they have sufficient money. The minister in charge of the Petroleum Corporation himself admitted that there is no money. Our reserves are empty. That is why we must increase fuel prices. If there is an economic crisis, inform the public about it. Be transparent. This will not happen. It is a pathetic situation indeed.
පටි තද කරාගෙන ටික කාලයක් යමු. හැබැයි එයාලා ඒක කරලා පෙන්නන්න. එහෙම වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒක තමයි තියෙන කනගාටුව සහ දුක.
Onto a story News First has been following closely. Carcasses of marine animals continue to wash ashore ever since the fire erupted on board the MV Express Pearl.
The environmental damage caused by the ship.
Carcasses of turtles, whales and dolphins washed ashore on several coasts since the fire on the Express Pearl. 2 turtles washed ashore near the Thalvupadu harbour in Mannar today. One turtle is estimated to weigh around 60 kilograms, while the other had suffered several injuries. The carcasses of 6 turtles have been recovered in the coastal areas of Sinnapadu, Paripadu and Puduppadu in Mundalama. The carcass of a turtle found last night on the coast of Puduppadu has been sent to the Wildlife Office in Anavilundava for further examination. Another turtle was found last evening in Dalua, Putlam, raising the total number of turtle carcasses found on Sri Lankan shores to more than 40.
Why are marine creatures dying? We can cite 2 provincial reasons for this. It may be because of the burns. The second reason may be due to the consumption of chemicals. That is very evident. There may be other reasons as well. That is why we are conducting autopsies on the carcasses.
The mouths of the fish that had died are open. That means they had died as a result of being unable to breathe. There are marine creatures that had never washed up ashore previously. The morel fish is not a common sight on the coast. There were plastic debris in its stomach. They too had died with their mouth open. That indicates they had experienced some breathing difficulties due to the plastic pellets. Based on information we have received, we can say that marine creatures are at risk. We must conduct extensive studies into this.
Did the smoke caused by the blaze have an impact?
We saw smoke billowing out of the vessel. The NBRO said that this may have an impact in the Gampa and Kurunegala districts. There is an area in which we believe that the smoke might have settled. We can see that this area had been affected due to this.
The final rites of Cyril Ranatunga, a retired general of the Sri Lanka Army, Joint Operations Commander and former Secretary of Defence, were performed at the Borella Cemetery today.
General S. Cyril Ranatunga, one of the most respected and highly acclaimed military leaders in the Sri Lanka Army and a former Secretary to the Ministry of Defence, breathed his last at the age of 91 years yesterday. Army Commander General Shavendra Silva paid his last respect to late Cyril Ranatunga today. Cyril Ranatunga joined the army in 1950 and retired as the Chief of Staff of the Sri Lanka Army in 1988. Cyril Ranatunga is the only officer in the history of Sri Lanka Army to be promoted to the rank of general without acting in the capacity of army commander. He also served as a secretary to the Ministry of Defence and was also appointed as the High Commissioner to Australia and Britain in the 1990s.
Sri Lanka's textile industry is at a threat of being affected the most if the country is deprived of GSP Plus concessions.
Sri Lanka had exported commodities worth 2.8 billion euros to European Union nations in 2020. Textile exports accounted for 1.8 billion euros, but recording a sharp drop from 1.2 billion euros in 2019. Accordingly, the absence of GSP Plus concessions will further impact the textile industry that is grappling with the effects of COVID-19. Plastics and rubber exports accounted for 239 million euros, while the food and machinery industries recorded exports amounting to more than 100 million euros. Currently, Sri Lanka enjoys the GSP Plus facility granted by the European Union. This means Sri Lankan products are exempted from taxes in the European market. The GSP Plus facility was removed from Sri Lanka in 2010 before being granted in 2017 under certain conditions. The EU said it would monitor Sri Lanka's moves to amend the Prevention of Terrorism Act and the implementation of 5 conventions. But now the European Union Parliament has adopted a resolution seeking to consider the temporary withdrawal of Sri Lanka's GSP Plus status. The resolution notes that Sri Lanka has excessively applied the Prevention of Terrorism Act without adhering to international human rights principles. Attorney at law Dr. Gehan Gunatilaka, a former Foreign Ministry advisor, opines that the PTA can be amended without delays.
We as a country have signed the Port City Commission bill. That was the only thing that was international that happened in the country in the past maybe 6-7 months. It's fair for someone to just look at it and say, no, this is happening because we are siding the Chinese. Even the resolution also points towards something like that. It insinuates that we are getting too close to China. Is that what's actually happening?
We have to look at the issue objectively. Does our PTA require amendment or not?
Right.
4 years have passed. We've been given a lot of leeway in actually meeting a very simple condition. It is not difficult to actually fulfill this particular promise. Now you brought up the Port City bill. Very complicated bill. No? Ultimately they got it through very fast, right? Which means if they want to do something, they can do it. They can do it fast. Right. They can push it through.
Sri Lanka's unemployment rate for 2020 has hit its highest in more than a decade. Official data showed that the unemployment rate in Sri Lanka stood at 5.5%.
A Census and Statistics Department report showed that unemployment in the Hambantota district was the highest, with the figure standing at 7.9%. The lowest unemployment rate had been recorded in the Puttalam district. According to the report, 8.46 million people had been employed last year, dipping slightly from the 8.59 million figure recorded in 2019. Unemployment levels were high among those with qualifications above advanced level examinations compared to those with qualifications below grade 10. The report notes that most individuals are employed in the services sector, followed by the industry and agriculture sectors.
On to a news item that will certainly bring pride to all Sri Lankans out there. A Sri Lankan music producer has written and produced the theme song for blockbuster Hollywood movie Night Walk, starring Academy Award nominee and Golden Globe winner Mickey Rourke and Eric Roberts.
Aslan Sharifuddin, founder and director of Friday Entertainment Private Limited, wrote and produced the track titled I'm Running with Frederick James Koch, who is also a key actor in the movie. Night Walk is backed by Hollywood giants Lionsgate and has already won numerous film festival awards in Moscow and Prague. The picture was released across cinemas in the US yesterday. Sharifuddin has produced and managed several artists, including Natasha Rathnayaka. He is also the producer of the upcoming singles Mage Yadare by Gypsies and Apinatamu by Corinne Almeida.
As far as what's the achievement of this, I think, is to be able to have my name in the credits right next to these superstars like Golden Globe Award winning, Academy Award nominated actors like Mickey Rourke, Eric Roberts, and Patrick Kilpatrick. I mean, that's really at the end of the day, that's the essence of achievement, to be able to say, as Sri Lankans, we've been able to contribute towards an international project.
Certificates for the participants of the GUM at the V-Force Leadership Series will be awarded tomorrow. The certificate presentation will be held online.
The Leadership Series was organized to motivate future generations with experiences shared by experts from various fields at a time where travel restrictions have been imposed in the country. The Peradeniya University's Vice-Chancellor, Professor Uppul B. Dissanayake, will grace the online event, during which certificates for the participants of the Leadership Series conducted by the GUM at the International Leadership Council will be awarded. Professor William B. Silcock of the Arizona State University will grace the occasion as the guest speaker. Robert Eldridge, who serves as the South Asian Director for the Global Risk Mitigation Foundation, will also be among the dignitaries present. The event is set to take place at 10 a.m. tomorrow via Zoom technology.
And that's a wrap of Newsfirst Primetime News for tonight. A gentle reminder for you to stay safe and stay indoors. For the Newsfirst team, the voice of the people, I'm Jama Ratnayaka. Take care and good night.